Welcome to the Helix webinar series. Today's session is on CI events to incident resolution, best practices and strategies. Joining me today is Donnie Shepherd, our lead Premier Architect, and he will show you all of the strategies, the demo and much more. Before we get started, I just want to remind you there is the Q&A section in Zoom, which you will find at the bottom. If you do have any questions during this presentation and demo, please put your questions in there. We have got Mike Yates who will be answering those questions while Donnie is presenting, and then we will have roughly around 15 minutes at the end where we will take your questions live. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Donnie to do his formal introductions, go through the agenda and get started. So over to you, Donnie.
Thanks, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's webinar. My name is Donnie Shepherd, and I'm a Premier Support Architect at BMC Helix, and I've been here at BMC for just under 15 years. Let's start with the agenda for this webinar. We will begin with the process of configuring the CMDB so that you can view the ADDM integration ID. We will discuss how to create a discovery query so that you can return the correct CI, and we will conclude with how to create the refinement policy to enrich the event with the proper CI and also enrich the event with the correct CDM class. This will complete the process of creating an incident against an incoming event so that the correct CI is impacted and the correct team is associated to the incident. This webinar will not cover how to implement PSR for event-to-incident creation, or how to create the CMDB sync between discovery and the CMDB. The expectation are that these items are already in place, and we are just showing how to identify the proper information in the CI and the CMDB to the proper elements in discovery so that the correct CI can be impacted. How to view the ADDM integration ID in the CMDB. The ADDM integration ID is created by discovery and added to the CMDB as an attribute the first time a CMDB sync is run between the discovery system and the CMDB. This is important since everything concerning level 2 ticketing is related to this ID. A note to on-prem ITSM customers: you need to be above version 2002 for this to function properly. The 2106 version was where this information was added. In the CMDB, the ADDM integration ID from discovery and the CDM class for the CI and the CMDB are concatenated so that we can ensure we have a unique CI when sending the information from intelligent automation to ITSM via the PSR integration. In this demo, I show you how to connect to the AR server, launch the Atrium Core Configuration Manager dashboard, select the class management class in the dropdown, select the BMC base element form, and then select the ADDM integration ID attribute. Edit it and modify it so that it's no longer hidden. For those of you that have on-prem, the demo will show how to trigger a cache refresh. For SaaS customers, you can either wait 24 hours and the new field should appear in your base element form, or you can submit a lifecycle cache refresh request via a case. This is a how-to video on how to enable the hidden field ADDM integration ID in the BMC Helix ITSM base element form. You will need to have an administrator account in the AR server to be able to access the appropriate forms and make the necessary changes, as I'll be showing you. I've already taken the liberty of launching my AR server, and I've also launched a link to the base element form. Let me go ahead and go here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you one of my CIs, and in my environment, currently the ADDM integration ID field is disabled or hidden. And so I don't see it. It would show up here under custom at the very top, just above build number in my environment. So I wanted you guys to see that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to the AR server. I'm going to launch my Atrium Core Configuration Manager dashboard. I'm going to click the drop down for classes. And if not already selected, select the base element form. In my case, it's already selected. And the ADDM integration ID is the first field in the form. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And I'm going to click the edit field. As you can see in my environment, it's currently set to hidden, which it will be in your environment as well. Go ahead and click the slider so that hidden is disabled. Now click save. It'll take a few seconds for that to save. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my AR server. I'm going to click on AR System Administration, the System Administration console. I'm going to click on System, General, and I'm going to go to Centralized Configuration. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trigger a cache refresh because the cache has to be refreshed for the new configuration for that form to take effect. So I'm going to click the drop down for the component name. In my case, I'm going to select my mid-tier server. I have 2 locations. I'm going to select the first one, which is cluster init. And I'm going to go down to the sync parameter, and I'm going to put a value. I'm just going to change it from 8688 to 89, and I'm going to apply that. And then I'm going to go back up to the top. I'm going to select my mid-tier again, select the second component, and go to the same sync parameter. And since it's 91, I'll change it to a 92 and click apply. Now this is going to take about 20 or 30 seconds for it to take effect. So I'll go ahead and go back to my base element form. I'm just going to grab that CI just in case. I'm going to do a refresh of the form. I'm going to put my CI in, and I'm going to do a quick search. And now when I click on custom, hasn't gotten here yet. I'll go ahead and refresh again. And now, as you can see, my ADDM integration ID is present. What's relevant about this field is that it's the first half of this field just before the pound BMC is the node identifier for this particular CI. And the second part, which is the after the pound, the BMC underscore computer system, is the CDM class for this particular CI. And those are the 2 pieces that are important when we're configuring to impact a CI in PSR. Thanks for taking the time to watch. What we're going to do next is create the discovery query. Start into the discovery appliance. There are several ways to create a query in discovery to get to the item that you are interested in. I'm going to show you how I go to the discovery and isolate the items on a server that I want to associate to the event. We will identify the parts required for the discovery query that we need to put together so that we can find the correct CI. In my example, we are using a server that has a software instance of Microsoft SQL Server installed on it. When building the query, we will start with the word search and then add the elements that will narrow the search to what we want to return. In this case, we are going after software instance. Be sure to use the camel case when constructing the query. Next, we need to tell it where we're going to be looking, and in the type field is where we will find the item that we're looking for. In the first query, we're using the show option, and this will show all the servers that this software instance is running on. In the second query, we refine it so that the results only return a specific server instance. This is the query that we'll use in the final phase when creating the refinement policy in BHUM. In this demo, I will show you how to use the discovery to determine what the field value in discovery is that you're going to reference in the query. Use the fields to build the search query query, and then execute the query to confirm the correct device is selected. How to create the discovery query to be used in the enrichment or refinement policy for doing a topology lookup. Let's get started. First, log into your Helix portal with a user that has access to the discovery device, and then launch your discovery UI. We're going to use a host that has a Microsoft SQL Server instance on it because that's what I'm going to try to do as a lookup for the refinement policy that I'm going to be creating. Copy that host name up here in the top right-hand corner and press enter. And what you're going to see returned is the host as well as the software instance. We're going to start with the software instance. So I'm going to I'm going to click on the software instance, and it's going to take me to that software instance on that particular server. As you can see, the type of software instance is Microsoft SQL Server. And if you hover over the word type, you will see that it is located in type on the Discovery appliance. If we go down and look at the host, we will find that this particular software instance is located under running software, hosted software, host. So it's telling us it's found on the host. The name is hosted by that software instance. And so those are the two elements that we need to create our search query. And then we're also going to get the host name. And to do that, we go back to the host itself and we look at the name. And the name tells us that that host is located in name. Okay. Now, in some situations, we have found that when running the discovery and trying to match up the name in BHAM to ensure that they're matched, we had to switch over to the FQDN name. So in some situations, you may need to change the query to look for local_FQDN so that you get the fully qualified name rather than just the name, which is the short name. Now that we've established the elements that we need for the search, we're going to go ahead and click Explore Query, and we're going to build the query that we need. And as you saw, we're going to create a search. What are we looking for is a software instance where the instance name type is Microsoft SQL Server in type. So that's what we're asking for. And then we're going to ask it to show us all the hosts that are running software, hosted software, host. And then the dot name comes from, we want all the host names to be returned. Okay. So when I run this query, what we're going to see is we're going to see that I have 26 hosts in my environment that are all running Microsoft SQL Server. And now what we're going to do is we're going to refine that search so that it returns only the instance that we're looking for. So again, the search is for the software instance where Microsoft SQL Server in type, and we're looking for a specific host name in that running software name. And so now what it'll return is just that server. So that's the host, and that's the type. What we've established is what our query will need to look like when we move into the refinement phase. There'll be another video covering how to create the refinement phase search criteria. Thanks for watching. In this how-to video, I'm going to
explain how to map a new CI in BHOM using the associate event to node lookup function in a refinement policy for an alarm class event. We've already shown you how to enable the ADDM integration ID in your CMDBs so that you can view it. And we've also shown you how to create the discovery query so that you can isolate down to the explicit element that you want to look up in the refinement phase. Here I've started in the Helix portal because that's where you launch all of your different solutions from. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to BMC Helix Intelligent Automation. I've already selected the Solutions tab in my automation console, and basically my proactive service resolution is enabled. I'm going to go ahead and click View, and what I wanted to show you was, and this is basically out-of-the-box configuration. I haven't made any modifications with the exception of my company, but I'm going to view the mapping for event to incident. And the elements that are important in this is the CMDB lookup key that we're using is the ADDM integration ID. And the other element that we're also using is the class name, which is the event CDM class. And we're grabbing that CDM class out of the event. So the CDM class married to the ADDM integration ID is what identifies the appropriate CI in the CMDB. So now I'm going to switch over to my BMC Operations Management console. I've already launched it into the configuration for event policies. Basically, I've already pre-created the Microsoft SQL refinement for the CI lookup. I'm going to go ahead and click Edit on this policy so we can take a quick look at it. What I'm using for event selection criteria is the class of alarm, because I'm generating my events through the metric data that's being collected, and the object class, the object equals to the MS SQL, which is what the SQL KM brings in. Under the policy configuration, I've configured a refinement policy, and I'll go ahead and edit that. And basically what I'm doing is I'm using the function associate event to node. And what you'll see here is that the node selection criteria, when you look at the policy after you've created it, it changes the configuration of where it has the commas and quotes. And so the actual correct view for that is, let me delete this out and copy the correct information. As you can see, the quotes are around Microsoft SQL Server, around the new host name, because the search is being built here. We don't have to include the search portion of it because it automatically appends that to this search algorithm. And what it's basically doing is it's looking for Microsoft SQL Server in type and the new source host name coming from the event. So we're going to pull the source host name out of the event. That's basically the server that we're impacting, and we're going after it in the running software, hosted software instance. The node kind that we're going to be impacting is a software instance. And then the second part of this policy is doing a enrichment of the CDM class. And basically here I'm updating the CDM class event slot with the BMC software server. So the software instance in the DSM, which is the discovery database, and the CMDB, which is an ITSM, define them as two different things. So a software instance in Discovery is equal to a software server in the CMDB. And that's the reason that I'm changing that class. Okay. Now, I have not enabled this policy yet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that policy as it is. And now I'm going to generate an event so that we can see the event come in. And so I'm going to go to another tab. And basically, I've cleaned out everything in my environment so that there's no events, no open or closed events, so that we can see the event when it comes in. So I'm going to go ahead and send in a alarm event. And as you can see, we got the alarm event in. I'm going to go ahead and just real quickly show you the object class that it came in is Microsoft SQL Server main. The object is MS SQL. So these are the selection criteria that match up. It did create an incident for me. And there's the incident number. I'm going to go ahead and grab the incident. I'm going to go to my AR server, and we're going to search for that incident. So as you can see, the CI that was impacted was the MS SQL DB38 server. So I'm going to switch over to my intelligent automation again and click on the history. I'm going to click on the first incident that was created. And as you can see, that's my SQL Server instance has an issue. That was the event that I sent in, and it got applied to the BMC computer system host name. So that's the reason that this CI was impacted. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into operations management, and we're going to close this incident, this event rather. And now I'm going to switch over and enable my refinement policy. And this time, when I send the same event in, and just make sure that the event is closed, and I'm going to go ahead and send in the event again. And as you can see, we received the event again. This time I'm going to go over, get the ticket, and we'll do a search on that ticket number. And as you can see, this time around, the CI that was impacted was the Microsoft SQL Server. I'm going to switch back over to Intelligent Automation. Incident that came in, click on that. And as we can see, Microsoft SQL Server instance has an issue. This time it did a lookup on the base model, computer system, the instance name, and the class name is BMC Software Server instead of BMC Computer System. So that's what married it up to the appropriate CI in the CMDB. Thanks for taking the time to watch.
So in summary, in the first demo, we showed how to unhide the ADDM integration ID in the CMDB. This allows you to see exactly what the CMDB is expecting in relation to the node ID and the CDM class that is sent over from the event. If they match, we have a proper impacted CI in the incident. The second demo showed one way to create a query in Discovery to return a specific CI. In the last video, I showed you how to create the refinement policy so that you were going after the same CI as in Discovery query returned, and also enriching the CDM class if it's required. We've included reference material for the various different aspects of what we went over in today's session, and you'll find that included when we upload the video. Thank you for taking the time to attend the webinar, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Thank you, Donnie, and we're now moved to Q&A. Thank you for those that have joined today. We hope you found it useful. We will be sharing the separate demos on the YouTube account once they are available, and we hope to see you also very soon on our next webinars coming up. That's a wrap, Don.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, let me just press stop recording. Wouldn't it be funny if I said to you, by the way, it's not recording?